Yeah, so this is why I have this phrase that you might not know. But it's a like so you ever hear get woke go broke go woke get woke go broke or is it go woke get broke whatever well I have another phrase that I like to use, right, which is if she refuses to file a report, take her to court, which is basically, if someone is going to have the allegations like this guy's ex had towards him, right? Well, they better have some form of report for it, right? I've said this before with recently with the people accusing what's his name? Oh yeah, Blake Griffin as well, right? And another one I said was, of course, what was his name? Oh yeah, the Takahata. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but the guy who played Cell and Alucard in Dragon Ball Abridged and Hellsing Abridged, right? Dragon Ball Z Abridged and Hellsing Abridged. He played he played a couple of cool characters, and apparently he was canceled along with Blake Griffin for grooming allegations, which of course are serious allegations. And if you're going to accuse someone of that, you better be willing to take him to court, right? Like it's one thing if it's like okay, a minor crime, like okay, like with Mark Kern, right? The reason why I don't really see anything real reason why they need to go to court specifically is because obviously most people don't want to go to court if it's just money, right? Like the thing with Mark Hurd is the only reason what he is doing is a crime is he's refusing to pay people back. If he paid people back, he can do whatever he wants on Twitter, right? That's not it's not a crime to like be an asshole on Twitter all day and do nothing, of value with your life. That's not a crime, right? I mean, there's plenty of people who do it. But what is a crime is, you know, um, lying about someone being a molestro, which, or being a molester. Both are serious crimes. And so, yeah, this is why I say if she won't file a report, take her to court. And of course, that's in reference to Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, right? Amber Heard, the Amber Heard trial is kind of what woke me up on a lot of the cancel culture is BS shit, right? And yeah.
This is just my opinion.
And
This
producer
statement
wondering, are you on Team Depp? Are you on Team Heard? On that, I'm on Team, Depp for the case. As I've discussed a few times, I think he was like a bit of a dumbass, I guess, an asshole maybe. But when it comes to the facts of the case, it doesn't matter if he's a bit of an asshole, right? Because that's ultimately the thing, right? She she was claiming he was physically assaulting her and stuff, which didn't happen. But you know what did happen? Well, she physically assaulted him. Um, Now he might have gotten drunk some days and been verbally aggressive or whatever, which is not healthy. And you should, if that if you don't like that, you should probably get a divorce over that. You can, but that's not necessarily a crime. That's just hey, it's not exactly nice. So you don't want to deal with it, right? But it's a bit of a difference, right? So she lied about about it because she knew, okay, people won't really care that much because she wanted to be like, the next, she wanted to be like the next like perpetual victim, and it didn't work out for her. And since then, we've also seen Quite where even worse, right? Which in this is more similar to Quite situation with is that person's what is that fucking asshole's name actually? Than it is to Amber Heard. Because the thing is, Amber Heard, was physical assault. This is sexual assault. Okay. And what do I mean by that? Saberspark and right and Quite were raped. They were raped. Okay. They had they were forced to have unconsensual sex with someone, right? I'm just putting it out there that like people like, well, it wasn't penetrative, or I don't fucking care about like what the quote technical definition of the term is. When people say rape, they mean forced to have sex against their will. Like they weren't consenting to giving consent to have sex with someone. That's and they had like if someone forced them to have sex against their will, that's rape. That's how I'm going to define it. I don't care. It's sort of like the whole. Well, it's not pedophilia. It's ethnoseptophilia. I'm like, I don't care what's in your septic tank, dude. If they're underage and it's a 30-year-old man, I've always said, okay, Romeo and Juliet laws are a thing, sure, but that's about it, right? Outside of Romeo and Juliet laws, no. And that's like if you met them in fucking high school, like you were already dating at that point, is what that means.
Reads far more like somebody who was pissed off and has been pissed off for years that the guy she liked decided not to date her.
Right. So like if you started dating below 18 and one's 17 and the other's 18 next month or whatever, well, yeah, no one's going to arrest you for that because that's why Romeo and Juliet laws exist, right? Is because that like that at that point it's a bit stupid, right? That's why this is why like the Sneeko argument and that one debate he had with Critical was so fucking dumb. It's like, oh, I'm gonna, what if she's 17 years and like 365 days and 364 days and like fucking 23 hours and 59 minutes and 59 seconds. I'm like, okay, you can wait 1 fucking second. You're a grown ass man, Sneeko. And with Romeo and Juliet laws, right, you met them in high school. Well, there's a pretty clear age gap there. It's less than 3 years. Now, I can think it's weird if you want to date someone the second they turn 18, but weird and legal are two different things, right? We can be weirded out, but we can't, say anything more than that, right?
And I say this because
you know what I mean?
Now
like,
that Enter's video and the interview with Emily.
To be fair, Charlie did horrible in that debate too. But the thing is, like, I always hate it when people say, "Oh, Sneeko won." Sneeko did not win. What happened was Charlie took the absolute worst possible stance on his position that he was doing in the debate, and he came out on top only because Sneeko's like position was so fucking vile that even if he debated perfectly in Critical debate all the mistakes he did, he still lost. He didn't debate perfectly either. But even if he did, because his argument was that he, a grown-ass man, wants to fuck children, even if he did do every single possible angle of that debate correct, he still lost because, the debate was, are kids getting cosmetic surgeries worse than Sneeko personally fucking kids? And like, yeah, pretty much every position Charlie took is extremely bad and the worst possible ones he could have taken in that debate. But I don't know about y'all, but I'm just saying, kids doing what they want is definitely not okay when it comes to that particular thing. It's sort of like tattoos. The kids shouldn't be consenting to permanent tattoos that are etched in their skins and stuff before 18 either, right? Unless it's like the only time a cosmetic surgery should be done is if like they were a victim of a fire. Like that's the only time I think like surgeries should ever be done with kids, and that's essentially what a trans surgery is a cosmetic surgery. It's there to change your looks effectively.
I think we have all the information that will.
Piercings the same way, right? I don't think even people should be getting earrings and belly buttons. They do, but I don't think they should, right?
To get It just sucks. There's no definitive.
Now I'm gonna say, like, maybe we can have something so simple as an ear piercing be like, okay, I'm just not gonna promote it. You can get it, but I'm never gonna promote it when it's a kid, right? But when it comes to when it comes to other things, like, yeah, like, yeah, no.
Answer, and that we all have to come to our own conclusions on whether or not the incident.
I guess a good way to say it is a tongue ring. Tongue rings are inherently a sexual thing. If a kid is getting that, right, and if you're fine with that, then like transition surgeries are effectively the same. And kids should not be getting that, but people let them do that, and there will be people who are against. It's like the same fucking thing, right? Now I am against them. Like I said, I'm against ear piercings, as I said. So, leave kids out of anything that is cosmetic surgery or sex related. How about that?
It happened, but that's just.
And people be like, but kids have sex. I'm like, yeah, well, that's up to them then. Like with each other, sure. When there's 15 and 16, that's when a lot of them do all that stuff. Yeah, because they go through puberty. But when you're an 18-year-old, you can't take advantage of that. That's just how it works. When you're an adult and you're a grown-ass man, you don't get to take advantage of that. And if the horny kids want to be horny kids, it's one thing. But you as an adult, unless you're their parent, in which case it's to tell them no, or their teacher to tell them no, you don't get involved in that shit. And the only reason you should get involved is to tell them no.
Indicative.
It's not okay. They shouldn't be doing that.
This whole situation.
But anyway, here we have Saberspark, being literally raped by someone.
Regardless of what happened.
I guess not literally, because the definition is when you pierce them with the penis. I don't fucking care.
Well, hold your ponies there, random comments.
Like I'm just be honest, right? No one really like when it comes to why people dislike, X. It's X.
Because you've only heard one side of this particular story, and by the time that we're done today, you're going to learn that the truth is way more insane than you can possibly imagine. Because what I have for you today isn't just the full testimony of Saberspark himself, but also his DMs with his accuser between December 2012 and June 2013. Yes, that's right, we're going to finally have some evidence as to what the relationship between these two actually looked like. And as you can probably tell from my tone, it doesn't really match the narrative Emily is trying to present.
And you see, this is the issue I always have with, like, people saying you can't leak DMs. Like, well, then how are people supposed to talk about allegations like these, right? Like, here's my thing, right? You shouldn't leak DMs, but if someone's accusing you of something, well, yeah. Like I said, it should be legal. You just shouldn't do it. Now, if you're like Elon Musk, yeah, sure, right? Elon Musk should only be able to do that to police. He shouldn't be able to do that in the public. Because that's just how it works, But if you are, you personally, right, as an individual, find someone kind of abusing you, right, and or lying about you abusing them, but both in this case, then yeah, I'll be honest, you should be able to leak that.
But the thing that makes my head spin is I'm like, this is such a destructive and serious thing to allege. And yeah, it happened a long time ago, but what if there is still evidence that you lied? Which, by the way, there is. I was able to get the text messages, and I will continue to push forward. I still feel like there's still some stones I need to turn over through the most professional means possible with data retrieval.
And yeah, this is also another fucking fucked up bit about this, right? The only, like, if Saberspark, didn't have those text messages saved in a log somewhere, a lot of phone companies won't let you look through them to prove your innocence. So even though she's not willing to go to court, because you also don't want to go to court over it either, really,
That's another thing that they'll get you. That's why I say take her to court, because this is another thing. If he didn't have these logs, he would have to subpoena them through a court. In order to do that, he'd have to be willing to take her to court, right? In which case those would be subpoenaed. Now, here's ultimately the thing. Most people don't want to go to court. Court isn't happy. It's not a fun place. It's time out your day that you could be, creating YouTube content with, in his case, right? Or if you're not a YouTuber, working your other job, right? Because YouTube is a job, right? If you make money. For Saberspark, it's a job, right? For Asmongold, it's a job. For me, it's not really a job, but I don't really have a job. But I just do it as a fun. But like eventually, I could make it a job. For my girlfriend, Twitch streaming is her job, and her other jobs are other things. I'm not going to tell you all about her life, but she has she has a Twitch streaming job now. She's officially able to make money off Twitch, which makes her a Twitch streamer job as a job, right? Once you start making money for the service you provide, it's a job, right? That's how it works. So yeah.
Though I've spent hundreds so far doing this, hundreds and hundreds, but as it stands, I've at least found enough to say that Emily is lying, and that what she has said is definitively untrue.
So welcome.
And here's the thing: he shouldn't have to do that. She should have to prove that he's guilty first. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't have. So people are saying this, but she didn't prove his guilt. So he has to prove his innocence. Is effectively what we're having happen.
To part 2, ladies and gentlemen. Now we've got a lot.
Now, in him proving his innocence, he kind of proved her guilt. So it's not that she's just lying about it. She actually had him she basically had him engage with sexual intercourse with her under a false consent, which is rape, So yeah, dubious consent. I'm just being honest. Dubious consent is rape, right? If you don't know, if like a good way to say it, right? If someone is trans, i.e. me, and they don't reveal that they're trans, i.e., it's not a lot of people, to a date, right? And then they go to have sex with the date, even though the date said yes, unless you were open about being trans, that is rape, right? That is like, you have to be open about who you are. Also, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's why, like, it's funny, like, there are gay dating apps where you can just be open about being trans, and most people will be cool on there. So it's really weird that people are like, what about the dating? But like, you just go on fucking Grindr and you'll get plenty of hits right away. Trust me, those guys and gals will be horny as fuck on Grindr. Like, Grindr is the hookup app.
So, let's get into it.
The accusation that I sexually assaulted someone is completely false.
And that triggered me and upset me.
Being anonymous is more than just not saying your name. It's actually a lot more difficult than you might think.
Something better could come out of this if you can talk to us.
So let's start with an insanely quick TLDR of what's happened since my video came out. If you would like a more full breakdown, I would recommend just going and having a watch of that, but the cliff notes are that I Love Kim Possible a Lot released a video largely focusing on DA games, but also including...
I will say this, Kim Possible is an amazing show. I don't really like that this is how I introduce the fact that I loved Kim Possible to people. But yeah, I love Kim Possible, but fuck you. I love Kim Possible, cause, especially for that fucking name, because now I say I love Kim Possible. Am I talking about you? As in, like, I'm just naming your channel, or am I actually expressing my love of an awesome Disney Channel show back when Disney was based? Which one am I doing, right? So fuck you. I think this is the person.
allegations against Saberspark. This didn't go down very well and has led to the exposure of a years-long conspiracy. The people involved in this bizarre web of intrigue have taken a
Yeah, how many times does this happen? Also, Brony Fan don't. How many times is Brony Fan don't, like, in a part of this, right? Yeah. Damn.
To avoid culpability. From pretending they're not involved and basically knew.
Oh, X8. X8's pretty poggers. There is a guy who I remember. It's not X8, it's someone else. But he had like a similar profile pic. This was like way back in the day, but it was someone who would go on about philia instead of pedophilia. I called him, back when I had a Twitter, I called him douchebag, and he's father of all prefixes and suffixes related to child molestation. I don't know why. Like, I hate that he has a similar profile pic to this guy. Like, it was basically like a Viking Clash of Clans like things. They both have like something like that, right? And I hate that because like I remember like I was like, yo, wait, what? When like X8 was around, because yeah, that's how, like, I had a very weird first interaction with X8 because I did not know who the fuck he was, and I just remember that interaction. This is why you don't really remember people by their profile pictures, but by their name, because if you do that, you'll be like, what the fuck? People will be like, what the fuck are you on, dude? When you, like, talk about, like, you know, where, like things you remember about them, like, I like, to be fair, I wasn't really accusatory. I said, like, you look like a person I know, but they're definitely not them, because they were pretty fucked up. You know, but yeah.
Nothing about it, all the way to smugly tweeting as though they've done nothing wrong. Oh, and Brony Fandom was released from hospital and is now doing everything he can to try and rebuild his shattered reputation. But perhaps, far more importantly, Emu Emmy did an interview with Mr. Enter, and he would release this along with his video on June the 2nd. Now don't worry, we will actually come back to this interview because it contains some pretty fascinating information. But for
you know, it's funny that, you know, we have false abuse allegations, you know, and basically the only thing that really changed is he just is openly a furry now, and which I think is cool, right? There are some like fuckwads who try to use the fact that these false allegations came out slightly before, but like he also debunked them like right after. But sure, guys. But yeah, people were conspiracy theorying about that, and also about him becoming trans. Which, I mean, if he becomes a she, sure, but I doubt that's gonna happen. You know, it happens, but I doubt it's going to in this case. I know a couple people like you had what is their name? I know someone who's non-binary that was the Stupendium, right? But again, that wasn't about after allegations. They just were like, I'm not hot and I'm a furry.
for my take on Enter's video, I think it's broadly speaking.
And that's usually how it goes. It's usually, I'm just a furry. But apparently everyone's trying to say, oh, it's because of the allegations. And I'm like, no. Not really. Like, it never is. I mean, the only person who really had allegations against them after lately was someone who had him after, I think, right? And that was Ava Chris Tyson. And they were already a pedophile before the transition, right? And they were accused after, because apparently, you know, people didn't put, well, technically not. It was documented for a while, but they didn't really accuse them until after. That's actually what happened.
In many ways, Enter had the far harder job.
And of course, it's what led to my my number one insult to both the Mr. Beast employment registry and also the fact that they all have sex offenders, right? So I call them like registered ex Mr. Beast employees. When I see a pedophile now, a lot of people obviously use the word chomo, which is jail slang, or just diddler, molestro is one I like sometimes. But I came up with registered Mr. Beast employee. Like there's a super chat on Side Scrollers dedicated to that, by the way. It of course refers to not only Ava Chris Tyson but also Sneeko. Sneeko, Jake the Viking, or is it Jake Shields? Which one was the pedophile? Because the other one didn't work for him, right? The other one was just on it. But it was Jake Shields, right? Jake Shields, and like the brother Delaware. So like the it's not too much, but it's more than enough.
Than me, and seems to have worked well with what he had. From here on out, I'm going to work largely on the basis that most of you are going to know what's happened and the parties involved. However, I do think it is worth providing a refresher on Saberspark's accuser, as well as the allegations themselves. On May 1st, 2025, anonymous allegations would drop against Saberspark that he had committed sexual assault. It would then be revealed that the accuser was Emu Emmy, a fairly sized creator largely focused around the Sonic fandom, though with a long history involving the Brony fandom. This caused some issue because Emily's history is somewhat complicated, and contains multiple other controversies involving sex scandals. The ones...
Yeah, so that should have been the immediate red flag that they've done it before, but sure. It's sort of like Elon Musk and his anti-Trump pedo allegations, right? Like those were obvious, you know?
Of will be her relationship with former Sonic voice actor Ryan Drummond, as well as Emily's appearance on Dr. Phil in an episode about her wanting to be a teenage mother.
Also, I love when people say I have TDS when I criticize Trump. But then, like, even when I don't criticize Trump, like I said, Trump won mainly on his charisma, and that he's still a lying politician, but he's he lies in ways that make people feel better, at least. And so that's part of it. And that he's a bit more open about being a bit of a selfish cunt, and someone was like, but it's true. Look, you can disagree all you want. That's why he won. We're talking about why he won. Obviously, I mean, stopping World War III, I think, was a good thing. I can acknowledge good things he did, without throwing the temper tantrums that people tend with TDS, the actual TDS throw. Right? But apparently, because I'm critical of him because he's the president of the United States, and I was also critical of Biden and Obama, and you best be sure I'm hypercritical of Bush. Like this is all, I always find that funny when you criticize Trump, you have TDS. Like, okay, I'm not allowed to criticize the president when I think he's wrong? I'm not allowed to do that? Okay, sure.
There are a couple of issues with finding out that it is Emily making these accusations. Firstly, this chick has about as much credibility as a homeless man wearing a sign saying the end is nigh, with many of her former issues being outlined.
It says the end is near. Fucking asshole. Lying, manipulative piece of shit. No, I'm just joking.
in Lance's video, The Queen.
Oh, shit. To be fair, I will say this. Her video here is actually true. The Prince of Egypt is the best.
Falls. Though secondly,
the best Bible film.
Most importantly, Emily's testimony reads like it's written about a completely different person. If you know anything about Emu Emmy, the statement itself reads like fantasy. Now, because of these text messages, I can say she has omitted key details as to the nature of their relationship.
I will say that if the one with Scar on the title, on the like thumbnail, with saying top 10 villain songs puts Hellfire in #1 again, I'm being just like, dog, you lost all my respect. Well, I mean, she already did, because, you know, all this bullshit. But she also lost my respect, you know, for if she did that, you know.
They were far closer.
She double lost all my respect, right?
She is claiming in her statements and in her correspondence to other people looking into this story.
Because that's like, you're just agreeing with Doug Walker. It is a good song, but I would put it at like 6, right? Like there are way better villain songs that aren't even on the list. Like did he put My Lullaby from you know, Lion King 2 on? You know what I mean? Like, did he put that one on? I don't think he did, and that's my #1, you know? My Lullaby is just so fucking good.
And this is so important is because the accusations against Saberspark are dependent on what their relationship looked like.
And another one, right? Like to be fair, Nostalgia Critics is like just Disney anyway. I think another top tier one, right, is you know, the one, what's it called? It's the one from Sweeney Todd that goes, I had him. His throat was bare beneath my skin. Right? You know that one? That one's really good. I'd say like that's what my top like my second one, right? And my top 1 and 2 like depend on the mood I am in, I guess, but like yeah.
Ending after November of 2012. In that time, they would have 2 sexual encounters, once in a hotel room and once in a bathroom. Both would take place at conventions, the first at Canterlot Gardens in September and the second at Equestria LA in November. The key to both of these allegations is that Emily claims they essentially came as a surprise to her, with Saberspark essentially forcing her into them. For that reason, she was distancing herself from him and by the end of November wanted nothing to do with him. Which causes a little bit of an issue when we find a further 6 months of very pleasant correspondence between
that's pretty bad.
the two. Though I am pleased to tell you at least one element of all of this has remained consistent for over the last decade, and that would be Emily's anger at rejection. Which brings us to Saberspark, because obviously, since his response came out, he has not been idle. Now he did.
Yeah, so people basically refer to her as a see you next Tuesday. I'm gonna be honest, usually that's not accurate, but this is fucking accurate.
To us after his response, but that was all off the so
actually, you know what's even more accurate? Bye, Felicia. Like just go.
I tried very hard to balance that in part 1, because as you may have gathered, Saber and Emmy did have some kind of a relationship.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sunt, right? See you next. Oh wait, no, cunt, right? We just cunt. See you next Tuesday, cunt. That's what she is. Yeah, I just forgot about, like, you know, if you change the first 2, like the 2 that can be done as letters into their letters, you get see you and to see you next Tuesday, cunt. Actually, yeah, now never mind. That's the perfect one. It is see you next Tuesday, but only if you pronounce it abbreviate it as CUNT.
Reasons, Saber wasn't prepared to go on the record and talk about it at that time. The most pressing is that Saber was sure that there would be evidence that would support his innocence in the face of these allegations. So use that time to turn his house upside down, looking for old hard drives, old phones, anything that may still hold those records. While there have been undoubtedly dead ends, Saber's actually consistently documented the work he's done to prove his innocence.
The fact that he had to do all of that, right? This is proving his innocence, by the way. Which also, if he had, like, if he, you know, knows his old number, right? Like if he knows his old number, guess what? He's gonna have the police look over it anyway. So, yeah.
And timing being everything, Saber would actually only get a hold of these text messages the day Enter's video goes live. The problem with accusations like these, that are once again over a decade old, is that any response you give outside of some actual bloody evidence will be used against you to paint you as guilty. And Saber seems to have correctly assessed this fact, because its options were insanely limited.
Oh yeah, true, because 10 years later they can't file a report in most states due to statute of limitations. So yeah, but like, I guess my phrase doesn't work. But at the end of the day, she had 10 years to do it, and she waited, like, because now it's over 10 years, so fuck her anyway, you know?
Even saying nothing beyond a flat denial has been used against him, and that's understandable. People don't really care what Saber's side is, people care that they hate Saber, and want an excuse to take a shot at him. I get this, there's content creators...
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. This is the real issue with this, is like, most of the people who are against Saberspark are just against Saberspark because he's a furry, or they find the way he talks kind of cringe. I mean, honestly, I do too. I like his video talking style, but I'm not going to say it's not cringe. I like that kind of cringe. You know, it's sort of like furries. I like that kind of cringe. You know, like we're cringe. I'm a furry. I'm a weeb. I'm cringe as fuck, but. I play horror video games. There's some cringe shit in that. You know, like, there's cringe that I like, right? And then there's cringe I don't like, and that cringe is bad. But, like, it is objectively cringe, and people can find that cringe bad. But, like, that's really what it comes down to. Saberspark is kind of cringe, bruv. Like, yeah, so.
I don't like, and it's fun to see them fall.
Like you can just not watch their content, right? But people form hate boners against people for being kind of cringe. There is a button you can hit called "Don't Recommend Channel" if you don't like someone. You know, I'm just saying.
Burst into the dirt, but realistically speaking, without any evidence, his testimony would still be treated as a he said, she said.
Speaking of that, is Mando Pony guilty or not, right? These days, I don't even know. Like, to be fair, I don't think they really actually denied it, but, with that kind of allegation, you kind of have to. Unless you're Pirate Software, in which case... Yeah, like pretty much everyone sees what that actually is. But yeah.
In situations like that,
Like the problem is, like, Pirate Software, like the reason with Pirate Software's allegations never went through. It's just they aren't going to. Now, one thing I find funny is that all these controversies are like everyone's like starting shit because he didn't agree with what is it, the legislation petition thing that isn't going anywhere. Like, they're like, we did steps, and then like they got no responses, right? Which, they wouldn't, because the thing is, they're advocating for middle-aged men and kids' hobbies, protection for them, which is a good thing. I think they should. Like, Pirate Software's argument against it is retarded, I will say that. But it's not going to happen, and that's the unfortunate part, because you got to get old fucks to care about video games in a way that benefits gamers and not punishes them. And that's the issue with the Stop Killing Games Act, in my opinion. Anyone who would actually be required to put this stuff into any feasible legislation or regulation or anything won't do it.
The question comes down to the credibility of the accuser, which is why Emily was asked over the course of a 3-hour interview.
And another thing is, like, people are talking about how Pirate Software has a live service game. I'm like, yeah, but like Rivals of Ether is kind of okay. Like, it's kind of okay. Like, the whole point of Rivals of Ether 2, and this is like why it just isn't going to be that successful anyway, is it's a kind of a knockoff of Super Smash Brothers. And in many ways it's better, right? Because both the first game and the second game in many ways are better. But like people just would rather, not pay for a live service game. It's another thing. These are paid live service games. Free to play is a lot more defensible as well, Like it's a lot easier to defend a game like RuneScape, for example. Or First Ascendant or Warframe, right? Because if I don't want to pay for something, I don't have to. Right? It's a lot, Nikke Goddess of Fate is a lot easier to defend. Wua, right? Genshin Impact, all of those are easier to defend because they're free to play. I like, there's stuff I don't like about them, and I criticize them about those things, right? I'm not a fan of gacha mechanics, for example. But I am okay with them as a way to make money. I'm just like the way the limits that they go to, Basically, like, you won't ever actually get a lot of things if you don't play 24/5/8. It's kind of cringe,
Address her former controversies. However, if you even have to have a call that is multiple hours long with an accuser to try and establish their credibility, I'd argue that's not a particularly good sign.
Oh yeah, by the way, Palworld and it's also Palworld and sorry, Palworld and Warframe both have an update tomorrow, so you can be assured that I'll be doing stuff on those.
And one thing I want to make crystal clear to all of you is that Emily has lied multiple.
They'll be on my Twitch and Kick. I'll leave them in the descriptions of my YouTube channel from now on. Just so people can do that.
Times, both privately and publicly, in an attempt to obfuscate what her relationship with Saberspark looked like. That's not just my opinion, by the way, because once I'd had time to review these DMs, I reached out to Mr. Enter, thinking it only fair that he be given a fuller picture. And as you may imagine, he was fucking pissed. Enter, thanks for chatting with me. This is just a very simple one, because we've kind of discussed these DMs, but considering the fact that when going through this kind of conversation with Emily, she just outright lied to you about the fact that she pulled away, Saber didn't contact her, and this sort of...
Yeah, I do find it funny that, you know what? I think that's where, the allegations to be coming furry kid from is Quite, right? Which is also funny because those were also proven false with Quite, which is, that just makes it even weirder to me, in my opinion, that people have this obsession with false allegations to trans pipeline. Like that is very weird to me, Like, they're false, but apparently having false allegations against you is totally a furry thing to do. I mean, I guess, maybe, is that a bad thing though? If people falsely accuse you of shit and you're proven innocent, is that a bad thing? I mean, I guess it's bad that people are doing that, but is it a bad thing for your image that as a fandom that a lot of people are falsely accusing you of shit, but you're actually innocent of all of it? I don't know. I think that's a good thing, right? It's sort of like the lolly fandom. Most of the allegations against it are false, and you'll have one or two people who are actually pedos. It's yeah, some people are fucked up. Yeah, absolutely. How many though? I mean,
their communication ended by sort of late November. Knowing what you know now, I guess, what are your thoughts and opinions, considering they had another 6 months of correspondence?
I am very angry at Emily. That's for start. It really is indescribable what I feel. Anger, annoyance, disgust, because we were some of the people who were talking to her, like some of the only people who were talking with her, and she still lied to us.
I mean, I think, yeah, I've seen these DMs between you all, and it seems like you were pretty thorough with asking questions. I don't know. It seems crazy that she was so determined to try and spin a narrative to you guys and still couldn't just be honest. Because what I find kind of crazy as well is she could have just said, yeah, I continued talking to Saber for 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
She could have done any number of things, but like the contradictions are like right there now that we have Saber's information. Maybe she assumed that he'd never be able to find it, which is a stupid assumption. But like, I don't get the logic. Like, I'm baffled on every level.
Yeah, I do think that she was sort of hedging her bets, and I think because...
Oh yeah, by the way, so someone showed me like an image that they got where from an AI where like it had like its own generated Patreon logo. I'm like, that's fucked up. Like, I'm an AI guy. Everyone knows that. I have AI as my profile. If your model has Patreon logo stuff that it creates, your model was trained illegally. Like, there's just no getting around it. It's not like you can go on. It's not like a good way to say it, right? Scraping stuff that's from behind a paywall means that you are effectively pirating, right? So training it off of pirated data is a crime because you had to pirate to get that data, right? So like that's just people advertising that they broke the law to people, whoever trained those models, you know?
Saber's, you know, it's been a long time. I think Saber says this actually when talking to me. It's, you know, it's like 12 years ago, but you know, it's a hell of a gamble that Saber would have no data at all. And I think that was the bet.
And seems like the bet didn't work.
Considering the shit Brony Fandom has tried to pull with Enter, I imagine this is like the icing on the cake. But don't worry, I'm not about to let Bonk run away from this. So later in this video, we're going to go over his DM.
I feel like this is peak internet like drama when it's Mr. Enter, Saberspark, Phineas, Bonk, Brony Fandom, you know, and Kim, I love Kim Possible, right? And Emu Emma are all like, you know, in a drama video by a guy named Cope and Seeth. this is peak Terminally Online drama, right? And then we have I guess Diane Foxington. I don't know if that's him or not. It'd be funny if this is just another person. So we got Diane Foxington, you know.
DMs with Enter and the insane shit he was saying to him before all of the.
Oh no, wait, Diane Foxington. It's Maid Marianne. Fuck, but Diane Foxington's from the bad guys. Sorry, I got my Robin Hood. I got my furry robber movies wrong. Robin Hood, it's Maid Marianne. Diane Foxington is or the Crimson Paw is from Bad Guys 1 and 2 now. I think, is Bad Guys 2 out yet? I want to fucking see that movie so bad.
Let's get to
like Zootopia 2 looks good too, but I really am gonna see Bad Guys 2 first. I need to.
The best way I can kind of break this all down for you is firstly to give you Saberspark's testimony, and then we can move on to why these text messages give credibility to his version of events. Now, one quick disclaimer. Regular viewers will be aware that I like to show full interview sections. There's a couple of reasons for this.
Also, now, I will say this. When I talk about like models trained off Patreon images, right? Not all of them are necessarily illegal, but they'd have to have an agreement to, you know, they'd have to have an agreement to pay them month. Basically they have to have a subscription to their Patreon. I guess is a good way to say, and like be in contact with them. Yeah. Now, if you're generating it, I'm just be honest, if you're generating something, it's already non-copyrightable anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much.
So you guys get to see the full
You can make money off of it, but you can't copyright it. There's a difference, by the way. A lot of people don't know that. You can still make money off of it, but it's open to the public. You can put it on Patreon, but so can someone else, is what it means, basically.
Rather than me linking to some hours-long video.
So if you're wondering, why I take a lot of my, not all of them, my profile pic isn't, but a lot of my AI-generated thumbnails aren't actually AI-generated by me. I just find them on Civet and they look good, right? And the reason why I do that is because, but it's not copyrighted. Anyone can use those. That's how AI works,
Let's be honest.
If no one can own it, right, then no one owns it. The generator doesn't own it. I don't own it. You don't own it if you want to use it for my video,
Given that this conversation,
but we can all use it, and you can make money from it because you're not because it's not what I mean. It's not illegal.
A very detailed testimony,
but you can't say you own it either at the same time.
So I'm going to break this up a little bit versus Emily's original statements, and I've also made a couple of edits just to maintain the flow of the conversation.
Now this is on Civet. There are obviously exceptions to that. Like if someone actually went through a Krita workflow where they, there's Krita plugins for Stable Diffusion now too, where they, put the plugin in where it generates some stuff and then they drew over it and did their own edits. That's different. Maybe they have AI to generate a background and then they draw their character on top of it, there are plenty of ways where I can see that, because that would be copyrightable. But unless you edit it, which in Civet, basically it's all purely AI. Yeah. No one owns those images.
Let's start with how you met Emily.
Saberspark's got the King of the Hill. The Jester dude, I guess, is the Sands looking guy there. And I have no idea who the third person is, or even who that character is. Goddamn, that character is very unrecognizable. I'm sure, I know I've seen something like that in a lot of places, but I don't know what one this is.
Connected, just from being in the Bernie fandom. 2012 was the year where the fandom really took off.
Yeah.
Technically 2010.
It looks like, you know what it looks like? KH3 Sora mixed with a mecha anime. KH3 Sora in the sadly very bad Big Hero 6 world, even though Big Hero 6 the movie was awesome. Yeah, the best worlds of KH3 are the Monsters Inc. world, the Pirates world, and Toy Story world. Although Frozen gets a lot of hate. I mean, it just looks very samey. The worst world is by far, in the series really is by far, the Shibuya world, right? And the reason why it's bad is because it has no real story. You just repeat the same two rooms. And while, yes, you did that in the original Colosseum in Kingdom Hearts 1, the reason why that worked, first off, technological limitations. I know it's an excuse, but it also works. And also, what you do in there, is basically the Colosseum, right? You don't feel like you're doing story. You feel like you're just having side objectives, and you also can avoid the place completely. So it is a side objective. You can't avoid Shibuya. So that's another thing.
But 2012 was when the convention...
No, it's San Francisco. So Shibuya is something else. Sorry.
Really showed up in force, where the fandom just took off. There was something...
I forgot that's what the name was, San Francisco, because Tokyo and San Francisco merged into one country. sort of like Night City and where it's like Detroit, Michigan, and Japan.
Just so electrifying about the fandom after BronyCon 2012, which I was able to go to. And I actually went to 4 conventions in 2012. I went to BronyCon,
Yeah.
Northwest, Camelot Gardens, and Equestria LA.
Yeah, now I'm not gonna watch this whole thing, right? Because I already know like the gist of it at this point. And also like I just don't really fucking care. Like he's innocent, you know. I like his content, so like I wasn't really stopping to the allegations because I didn't really know. I didn't really know if they were true or not, and now I know they're not. So for me, it's like okay, vindicated, I guess. But other than that, like you know, I don't really fucking care. So you know, if you want to watch it, it's an hour and a half longer than I've watched, or an hour and 15 minutes longer than I've watched. Probably going to be insightful. I just don't really care. It's false allegations. I can't be arsed to like really care this much about false allegations against someone because I'm like, yeah, well, trolls are gonna troll, you know. Unfortunately, some of them have followings that people listen to. But you know, he cleared his name up. That's what matters to me. You know, I like his content, so kind of would suck if you know he was a piece of shit. So anyway, see ya.